Today, I'm joined on the Winshaped Marriage podcast by Dr. Greg and Erin Smalley, who oversee the marriage department of Focus on the Family. They have been married for over 30 years, and with a high school senior at home, the Smalleys are very close to the empty nest phase of marriage. You guys have been asking this: how do we stay connected, and how do we prepare for the empty nest season now? So they help me unpack some of these questions today. But don't tune out just yet if you're in the earlier phases of marriage. There is great wisdom from them on connection in general, and it's never too early or too late to grow in your marriage and form deep connections with your spouse that will last far beyond kids being at home. Let's get into it. Dr. Greg Smalley, Erin Smalley, thank you guys so much for joining me on the Winshaped Marriage podcast. I'm so excited to have you guys.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to be here with you.
Now, I know you guys have a pretty long history with Winshaped Marriage, and you are Winshaped Marriage retreat speakers for us. So glad to have you in person. I know we had you on for a brief segment last season, but I'm glad to have you guys together today.
Thank you.
We are too. Yeah, we love the mission of Winshaped Marriage, so we love being a part of it. So thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know just a little bit about your background, but not a ton, and those listening or watching may or may not know. So we'd love to give you a quick opportunity to tell us just a little bit more about you guys personally, professionally. Just give us a little bit of insight into who the Smalleys are.
Yeah, I'm officially a trophy husband, so that's really it for me.
Yeah.
We have been married for 33 years, and we have 4 kids, but 3 adult children and 1 that's left at home.
Okay.
That is 18. So we have 31, 28, 24, and 18.
Okay.
So 3 biological and 1 adopted.
Okay.
And professionally, Greg and I have worked together for a very long time. And I'm originally a labor and delivery nurse, and then went back 25 years ago and got a master's in counseling, and I'm currently pursuing a doctorate.
Okay. That's
And we
awesome.
had the marriage department at Focus on the Family.
Okay.
So we've written 20-some marriage books and counsel couples together, and just love being able to do that together as husband and wife.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have a wealth of knowledge and expertise kind of in this field from your studies and then from your own experience of 33 years married, which is really cool. So
Thank you.
excited to jump into this conversation and kind of tap into a little bit of that wisdom, especially that you bring to the table with your marriage. So I guess I want to start first with this idea. Back in season 1 of the Winshaped Marriage podcast, we did an episode on connecting as a couple, and it was well loved and well received. And so I kind of want to revisit a little bit this idea of connection and start broad first, and then maybe narrow in a little bit. But this idea of connection as a couple, in your 30 years of experience, tell me 1 to 2 of the most important things that come just top of mind when you think of this idea, connection as a couple or connecting.
Yeah. I could tell you what it doesn't look like.
Okay.
And I think the myth is that it's got to be these grand gestures, like got to have a weekly date night. Oh, we need to do the vacations. Let's take advantage of the holidays. And what Erin and I have learned is that honestly, a connection won't survive from date night to date night, from vacation to vacation, holiday to holiday. I remember one time we'd just been really super disconnected as a family, and we ended up going over, I think it was like a Thanksgiving, to a family camp. So we were going to do this really cool thing. Everyone's going to be together, and I was like, finally, we're together. We're going to have all these cool memories. So I placed all these huge expectations on that time together. And like the morning that we got up, and we're the camp speakers. So, so we're at breakfast, and 2 of our kids get in this huge fight. One of them takes off. Everybody's looking like, aren't they the speakers?
We're the marriage speakers, not the parenting speakers.
Not the family speaker.
And I like lost my mind. I gathered everybody up. I found the one that had taken off. I brought them all, marched them back to our little cabin. Man, I lectured, I lit in. I'm like, we will have fun. And then I left and like went down to this little lake area. I think Erin followed me in.
I was like, what in the world is going on?
I know.
What has happened?
I was so triggered. But as we talked, she's like, what's this really about? Mm-hmm. And so the more we talked, I realized I had placed so many expectations into what this time was going to be like in a way that there was no way. I don't care how Hallmark movie-esque the connection would have been. It just never would have lived up. And so I think that's one of the things that we've learned is that they're instead of relying on these big grand gestures, it's really thinking about the small little things that can make the biggest difference.
And really the micro moments that are available day to day, and most of them are available every day.
Yeah.
And watching for those moments that we can utilize because they're already happening.
Yeah.
So really it's taking these moments that are already happening and repurposing them, because then they start adding up. There's 1,440 minutes in one day in a 24-hour period. And so how many of those can we utilize to bring connection? Yeah. And so, yes, the grand vacations, the family camps, the date nights, all good things. But what about in the interim? What about in the meantime? What are we doing to stay connected?
Yeah. It makes me think of, I don't know who coined this. It came from somewhere in the marriage
It's probably
world,
Erin.
but-
If it's good, it came from Erin.
Yeah, it wasn't me that it came from.
Nor me.
The 4 points of connectedness. I don't know if you guys know about
That
this,
was
but
me.
it's
Whoa.
like when you wake up, when you leave the house, when you return, and then when you go to bed.
Good job.
And it makes me think of what you're saying, though. Those are very small moments that happen every single day. I mean, the only time that wouldn't be is if one of you was traveling or something like that. And even then, you still have an opportunity for a phone call or a FaceTime or whatever. We live in a digital world.
Yeah.
But, those are small moments. Those are 1 to 5 minutes of the 1,000, right? That are an opportunity for connection. And how quickly do you let those pass by? Do you just... is that just so nonchalant and it's just like a pet goodbye and I don't have time and you really could have given that goodbye, 90 more seconds, and that would have added up, over time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we've learned. It's not the grand gestures, it's the small micro connections like you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think the other big kind of overarching principle is that because we're always changing as individuals, that we've got to stay on top of that or we'll just drift apart. And so we love that concept of being curious.
Yeah.
Just staying curious, meaning, I want to keep updating my knowledge on who Erin is.
Yeah.
Because who she is today, very different than when we got married in her 20s, in her 30s, 40s, and now back again in her 30s.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens.
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It just
You
does.
can't tell me how.
Yeah.
And so just figuring out how will we kind of make that commitment and how will we actually just keep learning, rediscovering each other is huge.
It's very easy when you've been married for 33 years to make a lot of assumptions that I know what he likes, I know his personality, I know what he's going to do in reaction to this or in response to this. And the truth is we're always changing. I mean, my coffee order changes weekly, almost weekly.
Yeah.
And so it really is continuing to just be curious, and which means you have to be intentional to ask questions, to spend time getting to know each other at that deeper level. Because a lot of couples will say, oh, we know each other. We spend, all this time communicating. But when you look at communication, the majority of couples are spending time in what we call business talk.
Yeah.
They're talking about strategy around the house, who's doing what, who's taking who where, and who's picking what up. And so that keeps you kind of above the waterline. And so we encourage couples to go deeper underneath the waterline to those deeper inner life things that we can't see on the outside, feelings, fears, stressors, what God is teaching us, all those deeper level things.
Absolutely. You shared a personal example of a time where you guys failed at this, or you failed at this with the camp example.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have one or two personal examples of how you guys have done well in this, and maybe it is just, maybe it's for you, it's the morning goodbye or whatever. So I'm just curious if you have one or two of those personal, maybe a more micro level example.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think off the top of my
Okay,
head.
well, I'll get this going.
Yeah.
We absolutely we do. I think for us, what we've learned is there was great research, and I think you found it on how powerful just 10 minutes a day of that kind of that inner life conversation that Erin was talking about. What was it? Was like, how many couples did this researcher follow?
She followed 300 couples for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Which had never been done.
Okay.
And what I love that she didn't look at the couples that failed or that weren't connected. She looked at the couples that were connected and thriving, and really looking at what were the couples that were connected and thriving doing versus the other. And what she found was interesting. One thing that they were doing, these couples were talking 10 minutes at that deeper level, the inner life stuff.
Yes.
And the good news is it doesn't have to even be 10 minutes in a row is what she found.
Oh, okay.
You can do 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. You can do it over FaceTime.
Yeah.
So super easy win.
Okay.
And we've learned the easiest way for us to do that is just like in the evening, maybe if we're sitting down to dinner or we're laying in bed, but we'll just say, well, what was the high of your day and the low of your day?
Yeah.
And that's been really good. Because even we were driving down here today. We were up in Chattanooga, so as we're driving down, Erin said, so how are you feeling about everything? and I laughed because I was like, my goodness, like I don't
really
even know how to
broad.
respond to that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, even if she says, hey, how you feeling? That's a little harder for me. I really have got to either be in the mood in the moment, like I've got to think, how am I feeling? There's something really easy. Just what's been the high of your day? What was the best part of your day? What was the low? What happened that was difficult? And that's such an easy way for me to get into that. And then we can, ask questions around some of that stuff. That's always worked really well for us. So that's just a simple way to kind of apply that 10 minutes a day. And that's what we've felt that's gone really well for us because we very faithfully do that.
Yeah. And it feels like that addresses a little bit more of the feeling part that you're talking about, because rather than even a question, it's just almost a shift in the way the question is asked. I feel that a lot of people likely say, how was your day? And then it becomes kind of that like
Fine,
business
good.
transaction.
Right,
Like,
totally.
it was good. For me, it was like, got Hallie dropped off, got to work, good traffic was like a lot, whatever it was. And
Right.
Had to
just
stop
kind
and
of
get
running
gas
through,
and-
the
Yeah.
business. And then it's like, I'm going to pick her up. Can you make sure to grab some bananas on the way home, whatever.
Yeah.
And even just shifting the way it's asked, because you think, well, I was asking about your day,
Yeah.
but then saying, what was a good part of your day? It gets you thinking deeper into like, what it actually was. Or, I really hated sitting in traffic and it was getting me like thinking about all these things. And then you start getting into that feeling of like, I'm explaining to you what I was feeling in that moment, and you're kind of inviting them in rather than just a business like transaction.
Yeah.
That's totally true.
Yeah. And I will say we have done that very well amidst raising 4 kids. And even in the seasons of being really, really busy with kids, I mean, you have 4 kids playing 4 different sports.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then add in jobs and church and friends and all of it. It's a lot. And we consistently utilize the everyday moments.
Yeah.
How do we say goodbye? How do we greet each other?
Right.
How do we keep in contact throughout the day? How do we say goodnight? As well as just utilizing these simple moments,
Yeah.
10 minutes a day, even utilizing bids for connection.
Yes.
And, when somebody is making a positive, intentional bid to connect, there's deeper level meaning there as well.
Yeah.
Like we flew in yesterday.
Okay.
So we're up in Chattanooga staying at a hotel. We got to go out for a nice dinner.
Yeah.
And then at some point over dinner, Erin's like, would it be okay if we hit one of my very favorite stores?
I
They
saw
have
it when we were
here.
driving in.
Yeah.
And so that's a bid to connect.
Yeah.
So she's saying, will you help me? Will you be interested in what I'm
And
interested in?
then he said no.
I said, no way. No, because
He said, I need a good example for this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But I
Yeah.
think part of the the challenge is just recognizing when your spouse makes a bid in some way to connect.
Yeah.
And so she was asking, hey, could we do something that I really, really love?
Yeah.
And so I hear it as that.
Yeah, because often we miss that. I was
Yeah.
working with a couple years ago, and the husband was like, "Oh, I utilize bids for connection in the morning. I make my wife coffee and I take it to her, but then she wants to talk to me for 5 minutes."
How dare
And
her?
I was like,
The nerve.
"Okay, did you catch it there? It's a bid for connection." And totally changed how he looked at
Yeah.
her desiring to talk for 5 minutes.
yeah.
That it was a desire to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
I love football.
Okay.
So
Same. Me
so-
too.
So even and that's not Erin's thing, and that's all right. Shopping's not my thing.
Right.
But again, that's why I saw it as a bid to connect. And man, yeah, I can join her. I can sit in the car and listen to
Yeah.
music, whatever. And so, but when a great play comes on, because my son, I mean, he's out of the house. Like I don't have anybody to do that with me anymore. And so I'll say, Erin, get in here. And so she'll come running, like, what's wrong? You gotta watch this replay.
Yeah.
And so that's another example of those
Yeah.
bids. Like I'm just
Yeah.
saying, hey, again, would you take a moment and be interested
Yeah.
with me in something that matters to me? And she'll sit and watch the replay, and like I can imagine her
Yeah.
mind. She's like, I don't even know what's going on here.
Well, then I ask,
wow,
you know,
that's
is
amazing.
that guy married? Does he have a family? How many kids does he have?
Yeah.
Where's his mother?
Like too much, too far, too deep. I just wanted you to see this amazing catch.
That's
So
funny.
we do that constantly throughout the day. We make these little bids. The more we
sweet.
can just be aware of them, that makes such an incredible difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and turning toward them is the key, because
Okay.
if we ignore them, we miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we might even refute them. Like, why would I care about football?
Right.
Why did you just call me in here
Right.
to watch football? You know I don't like
That's
football.
hurtful.
Right.
Yeah. But instead, we have the opportunity just to turn toward
Yeah.
and just to acknowledge it and to see the deeper level meaning that our spouse is offering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great segue. I was curious. So at the top of the conversation, you mentioned the ages of your kids. So you guys have adult children, and then one that is almost
Yes.
flying the nest.
Yes.
And so, and
Fingers
you,
crossed.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe. We're
And you
A lot of hope.
mentioned your son's not at home right now, so with the football example. So
Yeah.
kind of want to segue a little bit into we've done some episodes this season on premarital, and we've gotten kind of into like a more niche conversation with couples in that stage of life, but
Yeah.
we haven't really dove as deep into this stage of life of this empty nest phase.
Nice.
I'm certainly quite some ways away from the empty nest phase, but we serve couples in so many phases of marriage, and this is one that we do serve a lot of couples in, and they're asking
Yeah.
questions too. And so I know that you're not 100% into the empty nest phase, but it is right
We're
there.
contemplating.
You're on the
We're
cusp of it.
We can
preparing.
see it,
Yes.
smell it,
Yes,
feel it.
yes.
Yeah.
So as that is approaching, I wanted to talk to you guys about how you've been preparing for that. And maybe it is in the same vein of this connection conversation. Maybe there's a couple of other different things, but kind of wanted to ask first how you guys have maybe been preparing your hearts, your marriage for this new phase that you're entering.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned as we've married off two of our kids, so
Okay.
two daughters, is how important it is to make a whole event experience be very intentional around the grieving part, the change. We're literally turning the page
Yeah.
to a new
We've
chapter.
been parenting for a very long
Yeah.
time, for 31 years.
And sometimes I think culturally we don't grieve, we don't say goodbye well. We just want to focus on what's coming up.
Yeah.
And so I remember with our middle daughter, when she was getting married, I always told our kids, I mean, you've kind of done the same thing, but I'm like, hey, before you get married, I get one more overnight, just us. Let's just go and have some fun, do whatever. So our middle daughter, avid hiker, live in Colorado,
Right.
so she loves doing that. So we went and hiked a mountain and found this cool little alpine lake, just the two of us. And we just sat there in some chairs we carried up.
Yeah.
And talked about our life together,
Yeah.
the highs, the lows, the turning points. And I mean, I've never wept that much in all my life. Just talking about just Murphy and I and just our relationship and what it's been like to then be able to turn that page to say, okay, now what do we want that to look like as you get married?
Yeah.
And so I think in the same way, I think we've already begun to talk about just the grieving part, what we're going to say goodbye to. Like she said, I mean, we've been parenting for 31 years. And that's okay. And I think there's something powerful when we're able to say goodbye to what has been. It helps to free our hearts to really then begin to dream and think about what's to come.
And really looking at what do we want our empty nest years, what do we want this next season to look like intentionally. And we know broadly what we will do professionally, but what do we want it to look like as far as our connection and our relationship, and just being intentional with that. It's still hard for me to believe we're going to be empty nesting in another 8 months. We're kind of holding loosely the idea because our daughter may or may not head to college. We're not 100% sure, but it really, like Greg was saying, grieving is okay. Do that. It's amazing to me how many couples come in for counseling the year before they're going to empty nest. Many times panicking, going, I don't even know who this person is. And so how are we going to live in this house, just the two of us? And so really being intentional, go in, strengthen your relationship, strengthen the connection, dream about what do you want it to look like, and do that work prior to empty nesting.
And even talking about expectations. On the drive down, we were just talking about, this next season, maybe what it could look like, and even talking about, for me, hey, financially, here's what I'm expecting, and it was good for Erin to go, oh, I didn't realize that. Like I guarantee we are both walking very specific, maybe unknown even expectations into this new season and what that's going to be like. And so even framing it about, what are some of the expectations? What are you hoping this looks like financially? And you could just, I'm sure you could Google and get some amazing, throw that into an AI thing.
Starters.
And help us with questions around expectations for empty nesting. You should write that.
That's a good one.
But just we see so many couples. I mean, she gave a great example of couples being intentional to come into counseling a year before. That's a fantastic idea. But I think most don't think about it. And then they're there.
And then it just happens.
And then they're scrambling. I guarantee a lot of the scramble is because I'm grieving. And we're not talking about it. We're not sharing in the looking back and what that was like and what it meant. And because, if one was working outside the home, one was working inside the home, you imagine just the absolute loss and the confusion. Who am I now? I mean, all of that. I mean, Erin and I have both worked and been at home over the course of our marriage. So, I mean, that's probably going to be a little bit easier, but still, there's a lot going on.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful.
Especially for moms, because so much of our identity is wrapped into raising our kids. Not that it isn't for dads, but it's different for moms, because we're usually the more attentive, attuned. And not that dads aren't, but
No, this is all very
again,
hurtful.
just relationally. And
What are you
so
saying?
I have watched so many of my friends they're lost when that last one leaves, and just really scrambling, like, who am I? What do I want my life to be? A lot of them convinced that they don't really have a purpose and that God doesn't have a purpose for them in this new season, but it's recognizing there's always a purpose and there's always hope for something new, but it's exploring it and being intentional.
Yeah, we've talked. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
We've even talked with couples in like oftentimes during that empty nesting season that's coming up, you might have one who's worked outside who's now retiring, going, I can't wait to finally we get to and the other one might be going, this is like, remember Seinfeld, the summer of George. This is the summer of me. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to, and so all that, just being intentional to really talk through what are we hoping, how this season starts out for us, and what are we wanting it to look like.
I think one thing that could be become a challenge that I'm hearing too is you might be experiencing it differently. Like, and odds are you probably
will.
are, at least in some
will.
way, you know?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
so that adds another layer because this is a new experience period.
Yeah.
But then there's two of you that one of you might be like really grieving and really hurting and like, I'm really sad. And you might have another who's like, I'm so excited and I'm not going to do all these things.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then there becomes some conflict in that because, well, why aren't you sad? Like, why are you so joyful about this? And that provides a dynamic. And so I think to your point, there are so many dynamics at play that maybe it feels a little bit overwhelming of like, oh my goodness. So I think I would say going to counseling and just even in preparation, not, so many times it's like, oh, it's really hard. Like now we need to go, but it's like even thinking, let's go ahead of time.
Totally. Be
And
proactive.
so, being
Totally.
proactive. Do you guys have any other thoughts on like a very like tactical or tangible like step, having conversations, maybe asking counselor. I'm thinking like if there's a mentor couple or something who's walked the road ahead of you. I don't know if you guys have experienced that with any friends that have maybe already done this. So
All of our
Yeah.
friends
I
have
know.
empty
We're the
nested
last
before
of our
us.
okay.
Community group.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's so good because it is connecting with others. Like that's one thing that I really look forward to in empty nesting is being able to be intentional with other couples. And we do that, but you're so excited about that too, aren't
As
you?
an introvert, I'm like, no.
You're like, that's not on my list.
do. I bless you
Yeah.
to connect with others. I hate people, so I'm going to be by myself now. I
But-
see it.
Yes, and we can also learn, like you're saying,
Yeah.
from other couples and what their experience has been, what has worked for them, and even maybe an empty nest group. I've heard of some of my friends have been part of an empty nest group, which is great.
Yeah.
But as you're moving into the season, you have to be communicating about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like you're saying, we're different, and I know that's shocking that we're different.
Yeah.
But we have different personalities, different likes, different dislikes, and quirks, all those things, hopes, dreams, feelings, and both matter. And it really is continuing to create a marriage where there's room for both of us.
Yeah, I would even just visually sit down together, draw 3 overlapping circles.
Okay.
One stands for me as an individual,
Yeah.
one circle is Erin as an individual, and then one is our relationship together. And just start populating those, because it'd be great to go, hey, in this new season, as we've grieved, what we're losing,
Yeah.
and that's great, and we've done that well. What matters to you? What does this look like? What is God laying on your heart? What are some things, like Erin is just a dissertation away from her doctorate.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be fun to see how God's going to use this new, degree and maybe a different platform for her. I mean, whatever that's going to look like,
Yeah.
but to really tap into, what are you excited about, and what's on your bucket list, and what do you think God's calling you to do? Doing that for me and then for us. So I think it's easy to go, well, let's just talk about us.
Yeah.
And ignore maybe the 2 individuals, or just think about what are the 2 individuals excited about, and ignore the marriage. But if all 3 of those matter, so it would be a simple thing just to
love that.
make those overlapping concentric circles.
Yeah.
And just start to populate it, because I'm visual, so that
Totally.
would help me, because I can see then kind of how some of those really would then overlap in that middle area, which is kind of dead core between the 2 individuals in the marriage relationship. So
I feel like that is a helpful exercise for this conversation, but man, that could be such a helpful helpful exercise for so many different seasons.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a lot of overlap actually in the conversation we're having and in the season that we're in.
Yeah.
We have a new baby girl, and so we went from, and we've been married 7 years. So we
Yeah.
went from over 6
went from
years
freedom
married,
to-
yes, to not.
someone's
and
depending upon you. Yeah.
True. And we had a lot of time and we had a lot of conversations about which is why we did intentionally wait for some time and we like enjoyed each other and enjoyed just being married, and would go to a concert on a Thursday night because we could, and we didn't have to get a babysitter, and all of the things. And we said a lot of yeses because we could. We didn't have to say a lot of no's, and we got to be selfish in that way. And it really allowed us, I think we had a lot of conversations around like, okay, and we've lived out these years and they were great. And now what are we excited for? Because once something I didn't necessarily come up with this on my own, but that I had told a lot of people was, once we start having children, and however they come to us, like they're not an 18-year deal. Yeah. Like ideally your kids will outlive you. Like I hope and pray I'm never in a situation where that isn't the case. Right. And so this is like a lifelong thing. We don't just stop being parents at 18 or when they're 18. And I remember telling Cody, like, this isn't an 18-year thing. Like this is a lifelong thing. So when we step into this season, like we are in it, for the long haul. And we were like, we want to make sure we are real ready for that. And we were grateful for the Lord's provision in that too. I mean, obviously things, anything can happen, but I feel a lot of overlap in even that conversation. We're years away from the empty nest, but thinking about even that overlap of like, who do I want to be as a mom? Who do you want to be as a dad? Who do we want to be as parents? And using that Venn diagram exercise, and then using it again, for teenagers, and using it again for when you have adult children. And
again, notice that we're always changing.
Yeah.
I'm sure becoming a mom was like life-changing.
Right.
Becoming a dad for Cody, life-changing. But then what about the marriage?
Yeah.
And so often the focus becomes individually, we're running like in these parallel lanes, but the crossover, that center circle, has got to be addressed too.
Yes.
And so how are you keeping your marriage strong in this season?
Right.
Then moving into having school-age kids and teenagers. And having teenage kids is where the marriage satisfaction drops the most.
Oh, okay.
And so making sure that two whole, healthy individuals are going to make that marriage circle the healthiest.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to the empty nest conversation. So how soon kind of is too soon to be thinking about it? I'm thinking now of the family that maybe has those teens. So they've got like 13-year-old, 15-year-old, and whatever at home, or 11, 13, 15, something like that. So they're in the crux of those years. And, the empty nest still feels like far enough away, but time moves and years move. And then all of a sudden you blink and then you wake up and then they're going off to college and you're moving them into their dorm. So what would you, if you kind of, envision that couple sitting in front of us, what would you maybe say to the ones that are in that phase?
Yeah. I would say that what we can do the moment that we get married, the moment we start to have kids, whatever those big life inflection, those big points are, it's learning what's the critical skill set that we need as a couple. So I would say that practicing, like you guys, as you were saying, you just became parents, and being able to practice, how did we grieve the losses that came along with that? You did a beautiful thing. I mean, kids, awesome, amazing, hard. I mean, all of that's true. Right. But how did we take a moment and really talk about, man, what did we lose? And what was that like? And what was the hardest part about shifting, giving up the independence and the travel and the whatever? In just practicing, boy, how do we close a chapter well to then begin to write a new one? Yeah. How do we talk about, now that we're changing and things are different, whole new set of circumstances, how will we prioritize our marriage? What's that's going to look like? We're more tired now. We're, less money. We're whatever. So whatever the variables are, it's practicing the disciplines and the habits that are true for any season, so that we don't have to then go, oh God, but now we're empty nesting. What do we do? Like, ideally, we would have been practicing that so that when we get to this new season of empty nesting, we know how to grieve well. We know how to talk about the individuals and the marriage and how it's going to change and what do we want this to look like. So I would say more of that. It's therefore, to answer your question, now, is the time to begin to practice that in whatever season you are, just to
Okay.
develop those skills that are true for every season.
Yeah. So maybe if you have teens at home, like when you're or if you have a preteen, maybe when your last one turns the leaf and becomes a teenager, thinking about that same thing, thinking about that, okay, that was the closing of that chapter. Or thinking about, is it the closing of the chapter when you pack up the playroom and like there is no more playroom?
Right.
You know?
so
You
sad.
repaint the
We don't
walls
even
to
have a
the
playroom yet.
color that they like. Or
right.
there's
But-
always that was Erin's point. There's always change.
Yeah.
And if we develop the discipline of going, let's always say goodbye well.
Yeah.
And learn how to have those
Yeah,
conversations.
it makes me think of 2020. We bought a new house, perfect time during
Okay.
COVID. And we had been in the same house for a good 11 years.
Okay.
And I remember after we had moved everything over, we moved like a mile away.
Yeah.
And Greg said, you know what, I want to go back to the house one more time.
Okay.
And we set up a card table out on the back deck and we had dinner one last time, but we spent time just talking about what are we going to miss about this house? What happened in this house? We talked about so many memories,
All
and
the
we
stories
all
and-
cried.
Yeah.
And then it was like we shut that
Yeah.
chapter and we moved into the new house. But it's recognizing grief isn't done once and for all.
Yeah.
Because just recently we were in our old neighborhood taking pictures for homecoming with our last daughter,
Yeah.
our last homecoming.
Yeah.
And she said, man, I miss that house.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you miss about it? And she's like, well, just all the big trees and our friends and on and on. I was like, totally, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I wish we didn't move from that house.
Yeah.
But it's just recognizing grief is not done once and for all. So whenever it comes up and embrace it and even share it with your spouse.
I like this idea too of kind of sometimes you think of grief in like a negative connotation, like it has to be this like somber, like mournful moment, and it might be. But you can also, I feel like, anyways, that you can kind of pair grief a little bit with celebration almost too. And again, like different phase of life, but I just love how so many of these principles really like stretch through all seasons of marriage. And so before we had our daughter, a very popular thing now, I don't know if this was when you guys were having your kids, but going on baby moons. And so we went on a baby moon and people were
Okay.
like, I had
We
it,
didn't
my
have
uncle
that.
was like,
No.
We weren't that
Yeah.
These are
creative.
great.
Yeah.
my uncle was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. You guys' generation does all this stuff.
That's
and
good.
we sat, though,
Yes.
on this trip, and we were like, this is the last trip we will ever take where we don't have a child back
Yeah.
home. We will take trips again that are just the two of us. Like, we
Right.
plan on
But then
that.
you got to worry about
Yes,
childcare.
but we will check in and we will FaceTime. We will see
right.
how it's going with
Yes.
Grammy and Poppy. And
Yeah.
we will be like, our brain won't ever be able to turn that part of us off. And we talked about it. We were like, this is the last time we'll do that. And so we grieved that moment
perfect.
and celebrated, though, by
Yes.
getting to do like this cool trip together this last time. And
Yep.
then, and now again, we'll go on trips together. I'm not worried about that, but it'll look different. And so I think it's just a moment too. You don't have to think of grief necessarily as, it might be sad and there might be some somberness to it, but there's also, you can kind of pair it with like a celebratory aspect as well.
Hold both.
Yes.
I think that's what you're saying.
It's
which is true.
interesting because the grief ignites the part of the brain
Yeah.
that is for longing. And you think about when we lose someone, when someone passes away, we long
Yeah.
for what was. And that's the same thing with just daily things
Yeah.
that go on. Moving from one season to the other, you long at some points for just the two of you,
Yeah.
but yet there's the rejoicing of what's new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'm sure that
Yeah.
your little girl
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
the
it's
best
great.
thing ever.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we've actually since been back. We didn't go to the same beach, but we went to the beach, a different beach for our baby moon. And it was so great because in that same time, it kind of occurred to us the next time we're at the beach, we'll have her with us. And she's
So
been to the
fun.
beach twice now in her short little lived life.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
We loved
New
that.
memories
Yes,
and-
Yes.
that's
yes,
the
yes.
best free
That is.
playground
Yeah.
ever.
That is true.
True. So another thing that we hear from couples a lot at Wind Shape Marriage too, especially those that are in this season, kind of in this latter quadrant of marriage, the empty nest phase, they're dealing with the grief of their kids are going off to college or off to the military or workforce or whatever. They're leaving the house. Oh, and my parents are aging at the same time. And so now I'm handling like this and I'm holding this, and there's a lot. And we hear this from couples that are in the season of like, how do I do this? And so I kind of wanted to briefly just like double click on this idea of aging parents, kind of in this conversation that we're having, and see kind of what experience you guys have in the aging parents lane.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So my dad is currently in hospice and he lives in another state. And so it's really figuring out, like, I have a senior in high school and a demanding schedule and graduate school. And, oh, yeah, my dad is in hospice.
Right.
So it really is managing all these different roles.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I think that's what's harder. These different roles are pulling on us. I'm a mom, I'm an employee, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, and I'm a daughter.
Yeah.
And letting all of those roles matter, but recognizing there's going to be a tug between all those roles.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and see my dad next weekend, actually this upcoming weekend. And I'm taking our daughter with us. So combining some of those roles, but really just being intentional about, just really figuring out, like, how do I manage the pull, the rub? I've got a great teammate here who supports me so much in so many different ways, but even in this role, that we can do this together.
Yeah, I think that one of the core questions that at some level we're always asking is, will you be there for me?
Yeah.
In
Specifically,
my time of
oh,
need.
sorry, go ahead.
No, just will you be there for me during my time of need?
Yeah.
And that's why I love what Erin is saying, is that it's a beautiful way for me to come alongside her and say, I'm with you. Like, this is us.
Yeah.
So how can I help? How can I best assist?
Yeah.
What do you need from me while you're walking this out, while your dad's in hospice? And I have a mom who's alive, and so she does the same thing for me. So I think it's going, we're in this together. This is not your dad, my mom. This is us together, and we'll figure this out as a team and make decisions, whatever boundaries we need to set. We'll talk those through. So it's just going, I'm here, and we'll figure this out together, whatever that needs to look like.
I lost my mom 18 years ago.
Okay.
And had 4 small children.
Okay.
We had just moved to a new city, and Greg had just started a new job. And I remember it was so hard because my mom lived in another state again, and just figuring out, how do I do this?
Yeah.
My kids need me. We're in a new place. My husband needs me. But he was amazing in that he released me. He's like, you go whenever you need to go, and you go be a daughter. And he allowed me to be there 11 times in 18 months.
Yeah.
And I will never regret that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important to turn towards your spouse, but then let others come in and support as well. I was amazed. My women's Bible study I had just started in, I hardly knew these women. They came and they made meals, they drove kids, they actually even helped us move into a house. Greg thought it was a great idea to surprise me with that.
Yeah. So I was going to add in, be sure you're communicating, because I tried to surprise her, because we were moving from a rental into the home that we had bought. And so I wanted that to be all done. Like, I wanted her just to come off the plane and into her house that's fully
where I knew where
set
nothing
up.
was.
Right.
So here, I thought that would be like the coolest, most loving thing. And it just shows you just to be able to talk through this stuff. Like, what I should have done is ask her, hey, I could get all of our friends to help move you in. You wouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And then she would have said that would be awful. Because that's how it was for her. And I didn't know that.
Right,
and then
right.
wouldn't have thought that through. I mean,
Right.
she saw my heart in that.
Right.
But it was just a good example of, even when I go, oh, she would love this as a surprise, like, don't make that assumption.
Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
talk. So
What do
communicate
you-
communicate
What
through
do you
that
need
stuff.
in this
Right.
season? What
Yeah.
can I do to support?
Yeah.
How
I was
can
thinking
we-
about doing this. What do you think?
Yeah.
No, don't do that. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I love that idea too of remembering your roles that you have and that you didn't lose one. Like, when you got married, you didn't lose your role of daughter or son.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, when you had kids, you took on a new role as mom and dad, but you didn't lose your role as husband and wife. And so being able to remember that and then rely on your spouse to hopefully release you to be be a daughter in that moment and be a son in that moment, and just remember that that role is still, important, and it's still like a vital role as well.
Absolutely.
And relying on them and leaning on them, I think, is key there. I think to kind of wrap our time, we've had several great examples throughout this conversation of things that really can kind of work in all seasons, and we've kind of focused in a bit on the aging parents and the empty nest season, and then I've shared some examples from my season of marriage too. So we've already shared some examples along the way of things that can kind of ebb and flow throughout your marriage, but would love to give you guys maybe a final thought or a final takeaway of maybe even circling it all the way back to the beginning of connection and that word connection, but something that any couple listening or any wife or husband listening, no matter how long they've been married, what season they're in, they might be truly in the fourth quarter, like they are way out of the empty nest, like who knows. Something that matters throughout all of those quadrants of marriage.
Yeah.
I would say continue to grow. Yeah. Don't ever cease growth, because even when you become a mom, you still individually grow, your marriage grows. You grow as a mom, you grow as a friend, you grow as a wife. Continue that process, paying attention to all three of the entities Greg talked about earlier, both individuals as well as the marriage, and that will set you up for further down the road when you get to the empty nest or beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a podcast called Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage.
Okay.
And so one of our favorite questions with a guest is we'll say, hey, if you could go back to when you were getting married, so there you are at the altar, if you could go back, what advice would you give your younger self that day standing up there? And exactly what she said, I would tell myself, you are walking in a lot of wounds and a lot of baggage into this marriage that you're not dealing with. You need to deal with that stuff. And I can't underscore enough what she's saying, that I at this stage in my life, in our marriage, it's continuing to grow as individuals, obviously as a couple as well, but there's so much change. There's so many issues. We live in a fallen world. I mean, there's so much. Satan loves to write these lies on our heart. I mean, it's all that. We just need to commit to growth as individuals. And it took me a while. And I mean, I grew and I dealt with that stuff. But there was damage done. There are scars. It's now a beautiful part of our love story, but still, I wish I would have understood the importance of dealing with us as individuals. How do we deal with our junk? How do we continue to be well cared for as an individual? You can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
And built upon that, then is our marriage relationship. But I so focused on us, and when I should have been also, but a lot of it focused on just how am I growing? How am I dealing with this stuff? And I think Erin said it perfectly, that a marriage will only be as strong as the two individuals.
Yeah.
And those two individuals need to matter. Deal with your stuff. Keep learning how to be well cared for as an individual. And that just gives us more to give each other. That's how we keep our connection strong, our friendship great.
Yeah.
And so I wish I didn't have that perspective when we got married. I wish I did.
Yeah. And it's never too late to grow, right?
Right?
Like it's never too late to care for yourself.
And again, it's never once and for all, because
Yeah.
growth opportunities just seem to keep coming.
Yeah.
Oftentimes people will come in and they say, I already dealt with this. And I'm like, well, God's bringing it at a whole new level. He knows you're ready for more.
Absolutely. Well, where can people be following along with what you guys do, and just, any plugs that you guys want to make for where people can follow you?
Yeah, Greg mentioned Crazy Little Thing Called Marriage, and you can go to crazylittlethingcalledmarriage.com or listen to us on any podcast platforms, Apple,
Just go with platforms.
Yeah, Spotify. yes. We'll link them in the description.
Yes, there we go.
Good. Yeah.
And focusonthefamily.com.
Okay.
We have lots of resources under the marriage tab. So we would love to stay connected. We love WinShape and believe strongly in what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I
Absolutely.
thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully those listening will as well. But yeah, it was a pleasure to have you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of the Wind-Shaped Marriage podcast. And we will be back next week with a new episode. We hope that conversation blesses your marriage. If you're loving the Wind-Shaped Marriage podcast, will you please take a moment to make sure you're subscribed? You may be a faithful listener and not realized you aren't subscribed. It really helps us out. Also, if you've enjoyed these conversations and they've impacted your marriage, please rate and review this podcast. One listener said, "Thanks so much for pouring into couples with godly wisdom and practical equipping."